spoke, and I mentioned I'll be coming in pretty cold to this meeting.
Oh.
I'll be coming in from
Further into the
Maine.
property.
Maine.
Yeah. But,
We only got half.
What
of
good
it.
a budget here?
Okay.
We got the 508 acres.
Okay.
and I want to
The
get
other
that
end,
that agenda ahead of time.
still
Looks like you grabbed
Top
it
trucking.
for Thursday.
Yeah.
On Mountain Road?
Well, you know, I
Yeah,
called down
it
there and
It
they
goes
said,
all the way down
that, oh,
to the old,
it's in the
to the old,
website, the
health
town
food store.
website, so I called and I
to the
said,
parking the trailers.
you gotta send this to
He owns
everybody.
He owns that?
Yeah.
Okay, he owns that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Jen.
Full house?
Yeah.
The wrong
This was,
agenda.
this was all one piece at one time.
Right.
Yeah, this is the one that,
Like 10 or 15
This is-
places when they
Think it's
bought it.
yeah, Shane
Right, and
printed
then
off
it
the
became
one
one
that,
piece. And then
we didn't go with,
the
but we could still
people
talk
that
about it, but obviously it
financed
didn't make it it's been amended and properly
They were
filed on
dissolving the
clerk's
business.
office.
Oh, you do?
So there was,
Oh, okay.
Not related to.
they split it up.
Oh, okay.
One
Yes.
guy took one half, one guy took
Yes.
the other half.
But I,
You weren't here
Yeah.
last week, I meant to.
The guy that had
yeah,
the
well,
lower
I
piece,
can't be here
he
Thursday,
died.
because I think we're gonna
It
get
was
it
in
on
an
Wednesday.
estate, and so it went up to auction. And, yeah, but there was a lot of people bidding on
I'm
it.
sure there was.
And he bought it,
Good, reliable.
and I don't know,
Come into
I mean,
your
they're back
house.
at Pearl's, there's a gravel bank and stuff.
No, that's why
so,
these people
He
are
comes-
good in particular.
Okay.
right down along the trolley.
Everybody,
tracks.
pretty organized for let's get started?
And, he's got something planned. Oh, he was through.
Yeah.
Even,
You ready to get going? You ready to start?
Evening.
yes.
Okay. All right, let me start the tape.
The window's blown out there when you parked aside.
Is this thing running over
Yep,
here?
just set it on.
All right, 7 PM on Monday, August 12th. Regular meeting of planning and zoning at the town of Winchester. Roll call, I'm George Clausen, the chair, Peter Marchand is vice chair. John Cooney on my right, Craig Sand is absent excused, Willie Platt's here, Charlene Lavoie is an alternate, she's here, Adam Quagliaroli is, alternate is here, Rista Malanka is an alternate is here. Charlene, I want to seat you in Craig's place tonight. We don't have anybody in the public for comment, anything on the agenda, I mean, we only got one thing on the agenda.
The only thing I want to mention about the agenda review is you have a printed out version of the old agenda. So there's an updated one that was amended and properly filed with the town clerk's office, but under new business, that's actually not on our agenda for tonight. But we'll talk about it still.
Oh, okay, all right.
Was it withdrawn?
No, but it's incomplete. It's not ready to come before you guys yet.
Okay, we don't have a public hearing. 5 is not adequate for proposal for tonight, so we'll start with 6, which is old business. Parking types, outdoor lighting and landscaping. It's listed as I, location and size, all parking areas shall be on the same lot with the building or within a 200-foot walk as measured by drawing a straight line between the nearest lot lines of the principal lot and off-site parking lot, comma, unless approved for a parking lot as a principal use has been granted. That's A. B, parking lot as a principal use is permitted uses in town center residential, town center, and town gateway zoning districts for proposed parking lots of 20 spaces or less, and for a special permit application for parking lots of 21 spaces or more, any consideration for proposed parking lot as a principal use in the Highland Lake Business District zoning district requires a special permit application. So, you've been working on it,
Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't bring my notes. I thought I had sent them to Lance, but
That's okay. And just to note, we did, obviously, the January 22nd meeting, go over both these issues related to parking
The
pretty
which date?
extensively. What's that?
What date?
July 21st,
July
22nd was our
Okay,
last
all right.
meeting. And I did a sort of synopsis of what our conversation was in this handout that you see some handwriting on afterwards.
Yeah.
we didn't talk about this, but what I was recommending is a small scale format for parking lot and a large scale format for parking lot. But it fits the criteria that was described in the last meeting. And then parking area, which in our current regulations, an area other than a street used for a parking lot of 5 or more, that's supposed to read, vehicles, should be changed to or less. And then that distinguishes it different than the parking lot small scale or parking lot large scale. So that's one thing we can talk about. And then we went over quite a bit the site plan minor approval and site plan major approval. And that's the part that probably we should have a little bit more. And again, Rissa and I can get together one more time and just hash that out as a draft regulation. But that's basically how we broke it out in last meeting of what's the consideration for that.
Why don't you tell us what you were talking about? so
Well,
we know what you're thinking.
good question. So we pretty much came to consensus, I believe, on all the zones that we want to consider this for. So town center residential, town center, and then town gateway. And for town center residential, the thought was a 5 to 35 minor, what do we call this, minor approval would require a special permit. And then town center would only require site plan approval. And then town gateway, we decided, should have special permit approval.
Well, so I think, hold on, I think that we're getting a little confused. So we decided that we wanted to break the parking lot into like major and minor, or large scale, small scale, and be from 5 to 35, so not 20. So that would have to change in what you said here. And then more than 35. And that it would be site plan approval in the town center residential, the town center, and the town gateway for the minor or small scale, and then it would be a special permit for the large scale. And any parking lots would be, I didn't think, I can't remember if we didn't wanna allow them at all in the Highland Lake Business District.
I think we finally decided to not, because it would.
Right, so it's not special
that's what
permit
we
required, so no, not allowed at all in the Highland Lake District. However, that we didn't really wanna regulate parking areas, which are 5 or less. So if there was a parking area around Highland Lake that was less than 5 cars, we weren't gonna really get into that,
Correct.
right? And then, when you talk about site plan minor and major, that's already in our regulations.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's already
Yep.
gonna, so we don't have to do anything.
Right.
I think we brought that up kind of just as a side note that, what did it say? That a site plan was 10 new parking spaces, so there's a little bit of inconsistency there in the regulations, but whether we wanted to change that or not, maybe not. So that's the only site plan major or minor, that's the only, comment really, that if you have between 5 and
You said,
10 parking spaces,
yeah,
you don't have to provide all of the information.
okay, what, you changed, one was to 20, you got it to 35.
So
Why
we
did you
talked
do
about
that?
that at the last meeting, and we thought 20 was too small, because we want to allow it, so we came up with, we thought 35, which is we think about the size of the parking lot on Meadow Street as a visual, that would be appropriate by site plan, and then more than that would be by special exception. Right,
Okay. And
Okay.
then we use all the parking lot regulations that are existing to determine those things.
correct.
Okay.
And I am not even sure that, did we want, and again, I apologize, I don't have my notes, I thought, but the special permit for more than 35 in the town center residential, did we even wanna allow that?
I don't think we have any land that's large enough in the town center residential. do we?
That was the concern for the large, we don't want town center residential to have large parking lots. So I think that's why we said, okay, we'll give it to 35, in the town center residential.
Anybody have any other thoughts about the town center residential?
I'm just trying to recall what we talked.
So the question be, if somebody wanted to pitch that as idea, but they would have to require a special permit, we'd only give them an opportunity to present something? We're just gonna cap it at 35?
I don't remember.
That's what your suggestion
In
is.
town center residential?
Yeah.
Residential.
Well, no, we were just talking about town center, or?
No, so the whole, I don't know if I'm recalling this correctly, but the whole conversation, we understood the need for town center and gateway, and we wanna allow for those bigger parking lots. So we said 35, town center, gateway. If it's a small scale, under 35, it's site plan, over 35, it's permitted use. But the conversation was around the town center residential, and what's the appropriate use there? And we don't want large parking lots in the town center residential, but we do understand there's a need for some parking. So town center residential, small scale parking lots only by site plan, I think.
That's what I
Right.
recall too.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
And I thought we said Highland Lake residential, none
Correct.
allowed, but
Oh,
Highland Lake
the business.
business was, I thought we had a,
Yes, allow
Highland
Highland
Lake
Lake
business
business was
zone.
gonna be
Yeah.
recorded. That's all requires a special permit, though.
Yes.
No
That
matter
makes-
what size.
That makes sense, I think.
not to throw us on adjacent, but Highland Lake residential, I don't see anything that precludes someone from, if they have a property, building a driveway.
No, I agree, and
Yeah.
you've got it limited to how many cars.
that's where we said parking areas that are 5 or less.
Yeah,
You know, we were
That
not,
allows them to do that.
yeah.
In our driveway regulations,
Yeah.
limits the curb cut anyways, so
Yep.
we can't.
business.
Right, and then they gotta go through the driveway permit process and
I think
everything else,
that's
so
a-
they're gonna be,
Responsible way of allowing parking.
So in Highland Lake Business, did we want that to be similar than Town Center Residential, where there's no large parking lots allowed, only small by special exception?
That's what we agreed on for rural, right?
You know, we don't have a big area in the Highland Lake Business District either.
Right.
And it's larger than what we originally had planned, and it was a mistake that was made by our previous planner. And we had a public hearing, and we left it the way it is. But I don't know anybody, maybe I'm wrong, but anybody that objects to, I wouldn't put an automobile dealership or auto repair on Highland Lake.
No.
But, I mean, it's there, and the way we had written the thing originally was they can continue to operate as long as they're there, but they can't continue to hand it off to somebody. But then, we had a public hearing, and they brought in all the pictures, and we didn't go against it, and we left it the way it is. But, I don't know.
I guess I'm following where you're going.
Pardon me?
I'm not following where.
It's, when we, you know, where the boat marina is, all right, go toward, I'm saying that's east, heading toward the old Bruno's location. That's where the auto repair facility is up there, and they do a fantastic job. But I would not allow that had we held what we had originally planned and what we had originally proposed. Our town planner, when they put that in the map, incorrectly did it and put it in as a continuation of the Highland Lake Business District. And then when we held a public hearing to get it squared away, they came in with all the maps, and I think they did a nice job of the presentation, but I disagree that it should be that way. But it is what it
So
is.
that's a pre-existing non-conforming use? Is
Yes.
it?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But what we're saying, and for parking, is that parking as a principal use in certain sites might be a small-scale
well,
parking lot.
what's the
Lance, can you
defini-
bring up the business district?
Yeah.
Up on that screen?
but what's the, how many car parking are we dealing with regards to something like that?
For
30
Highland?
5 to 35. And this is when it's not connected to another business,
I agree.
right? Like, if there's a business, we deal with the parking at that point, but,
it's all the orange.
We did a really nice job, in my opinion, last meeting too, was talking about like accessory parking use, cause
Yeah.
that 200 feet question came up over and over again. And so a great example is the old nursing home. You know,
Right.
they have this parking lot, here, let me put on, they have this parking lot adjacent to the property building. And it actually
Right.
can accommodate 50 cars. So, if we're gonna limit the number of parking spaces in the Highland Lake Business District, yes, that wouldn't be able to happen, but it also is adjacent to the use for the building, which has to come in for site plan approval, or special permit approval
Special
anyways.
permit, yeah.
So I think we're catching all our little, like, we threw you a few like oddballs, like I said, well, what about trailhead parking, what about, and honestly, it all goes right back down to use. So I think we're okay, personally.
So that's considered one parcel now, correct? Okay, so then that's really kinda,
That's within 200 feet of the building,
Correct.
yeah.
so,
And the only
So
other
it's
part you
moot
have
point.
is you go down to the corner by the beach. The only
Oh, by
other
the
way,
beach. Yeah.
With that, the points.
you got La Points and that's it. And then you got that one parking lot right there.
In the condo, it's got the parking, their parking lot.
I think that's all business.
But those are not, I would not consider those parking as a principal use, the parking
Right.
lot to the,
Yeah, but they're
Right.
already occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the only places that are basically not being used as anything right now are those little tiny strips that are on the water side that should never have been Highland Lake Business District, but somehow they became that. And those aren't big enough to do anything with.
Okay.
Union Pin property's in that, under that, isn't it, or not?
Yeah. Yep.
The old Union Pin property,
Right.
I mean, you've got vacant land there.
I mean, you could go down there and, I think there's one lot that's separate, might be
I-
separate.
Exactly.
That could be a parking lot. But that would be in an area that would be useful.
Sure.
I see what you were saying, George, it's dawning on me now, you're talking, what you were talking about.
So,
Okay. All right, so what's the hiccup as far as getting this thing to a public hearing?
That's what's nice about this.
Okay.
All right, so.
Does everybody like that terminology, if we were gonna use small scale format, large scale format? And then I think, cause the site plan minor approval and major approval, that's already in the regulations.
Yeah.
So it's relating back to that. So what Rista gave you for, recommended updates is in the separate packet that I printed for just the regulations on parking.
Yeah, with all the red.
Yep.
There's a lot of updates that need to be done there.
So I think that's a great foundation to just put something forward for consideration. One thing I questioned was, there was parking lots with 10 to 99 parking spaces. Does anybody remember why that number was picked?
Don't recall.
Page 39.
I think we just required additional landscaping for the bigger parking lots.
See, we had a consultant out of Midwest that helped us with when we redid the regulations. Some of this might have come out of that, I'm not sure.
But I think this would apply to like the Stop and Shop Plaza
Yeah,
or
that's what I
something
was
like,
thinking,
yeah.
something like that. Where you've got Crystal Peak, and places like that, that,
Yes.
the larger business, even though it's with the building.
so we have, parking area, an area other than off-street used for the parking of 5 cars or less. So, we've talked about the Highland Lake Business District and all the others, but you didn't draw a red line through the Highland Lake District, so should we
Oh.
that smaller parking be included in that area? So we did talk about all those little lots that are used for parking.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we kind of went back and forth during the meeting about that, but I remember Jeff saying that it isn't an issue right now, so maybe we kind of address it when it becomes one. And all the ones that are existing right now are pre-existing non-conforming, so it's not a concern for those property owners. They can continue to do what they're doing.
So what was this point?
So we discussed whether Highland Lake should be incorporated into some kind of parking regulations or not. I think the sense at the end was, it's not an issue. I mean, there's definitely need for parking around the lake, but
True.
there isn't a concern right now, with people using their vacant land as parking, and maybe when it becomes one, that's the time to address it, but.
I mean, there's very few large parcels up there.
Right.
And, so I don't think we should be trying to prohibit things going on up there. I think.
So what if we just added into the parking area? What we wanna say is those are allowed as of right, right?
Yeah,
So, do we just add that into the
What are those?
In terms
Uh,
of number wise.
I think I've noticed like 6, but also they're all probably about 200 feet from the principal dwelling, so in a way, that kind of is moot issue as well.
6 spaces or 6
No,
46
6
locations?
parking areas, yeah. That accommodate like less than half a dozen cars. Yeah, so these are literally parking, in our regulation parking areas, not large scale or small scale.
So just because in the definition, the fact that parking could be within 200 feet on a separate lot, that would cover that type of parking.
Right.
Okay.
so what are the other issues that we need to further discuss?
The one thing I remembered Rista told me was the waiver disclaimer that we should definitely add, so I put that on the bottom of this page. That the commission may waive any of the items required for a site plan application if the commission determines that the information is not needed to determine compliance
I think
of
that's
these
reasonable,
regulations.
yeah.
I think it's reasonable.
So I think that, so one of the reason I brought that up is we have, you know, a minor site plan that says you don't need all this stuff, and then you have major site plans that need everything. My opinion would to just be, have site plan requirements, major or minor, but then allow for that waiver. So,
Makes
so
sense.
it's not, you know, predetermined, cause there might be a minor
But
application.
who's gonna make that determination, the commission or the land use board?
So,
Or
there has to be, ultimately, the commission has to approve that waiver.
Sure.
But I think there has to be some clear boundaries with the land use.
I agree with you,
To say yes or no.
all right?
We have a great example that we could talk about in a little bit. So,
Let's talk about it.
yeah.
But
Well,
but
it's not
that, but
really
that
about the
may not
regulations,
mean,
but-
that's not necessarily connected right to parking. That could be a different conversation, or it can be part of this. But it just came up because of the whole 10-car parking lot thing.
Yeah, under parking types and outdoor lighting, page 35, where about use of LED, are there any energy efficient lighting encouraged? Definitely should be required.
I think at this point, we should
At this
be.
stage of the game, it
Yeah.
should be.
Oh, instead of encouraged, you
Right,
require.
should be, you know,
Yeah,
that's a
that's-
wording change, it should be done when we do the regulations.
Yeah, good idea. I don't think anybody's doing anything
No,
other
I
than
mean,
that today.
but
But yeah, to change the regulations to make it reflect what
Yep.
we'd like. I see that portable toilet has gone up there.
yes,
Yes, we talked about that last week too.
yep, notice that, I looked several times.
All right, so what else do we need with regards to this, so we can get this thing on the agenda for a public hearing?
So Lance, you want me to do that draft to you?
Why don't you put
And
your
then
notes in
we'll just set it
we'll
for a
go over
public hearing. Where's the draft?
draft
give it to the
regulations done
COG.
for us for our next meeting,
Yeah, and we can
because
see.
this may come up at our meeting Thursday. If some of
Right.
the other boards have an issue with it,
Yeah.
ZBA or wetlands, something in the parking regulations. We can,
Yeah, if you and I can kind of craft something, maybe we, well, do you want to look at it one more time and then we'll give it to the COG?
Well, we have to set a, let's
yeah,
just set a
let's-
public hearing date.
Well, I want to see what the heck we're presenting.
Draft
And
and then
so I think we should do that at
yeah,
the
let's
next
see a final
meeting.
draft of it.
But
Then,
I wouldn't open this up during the combined meeting, frankly.
well, unless
No.
somebody
We got a
brings it up.
public hearing.
No, unless somebody brings up that there's an
Yeah.
issue with something at ZBA or.
But I would let them
wetlands.
know that that's coming up, so that
Yeah.
if they want to participate, let them participate.
Alright.
Otherwise, you got a public hearing, you got this, you got that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah, exactly.
complete. So we could do that for the next meeting, and then we'll set a public hearing, and that's, I guess should be the first meeting in September. It should be the,
Well,
And COG needs what, at least a month to look at?
well, that's a
30
public
days.
hearing.
Yeah.
That's a public hearing we're gonna have
it
before.
will probably be the second meeting in September for noticing requirements. You need 30 days.
For a public hearing?
Yeah. Does, you need, well, the COG needs 30 days notice. So if you set it, if we meet again, August 26th,
Okay.
you have to, we need 30 days notice to the COG. So that would be September 23rd.
It should be fine.
All right.
You'll act on it then.
Okay, so that'd be, okay, September 23rd, Monday, okay. All right. We went through this before with changing the whole bloody book.
Yeah,
Jesus
I know.
Christ. Everybody in agreement with that?
Let's get it done this year.
Yeah, no kidding. Here you go. Wow.
I wish we had this waiver during
Yeah.
the driveway thing.
Driveway.
I agree with you.
During the driveway stuff that we did, I wish
Yeah.
we had that text that included that in there.
I
Do
agree
you want
with
me
you.
to include that language as part of these regulation changes?
Yes, please.
So why did we get all these tonight?
Oh, well, we started printing, okay, so here's what happened. We started printing because I wanted for Thursday to everybody to have a new set of regulation, like, so we're all same page numbers. This is the version that's correct, because I know there's other ones that are missing
Well,
things
the
that are
driveway,
floating around.
is that's not in here?
No,
is
so
it?
that was what I was just saying, George, the 5 things that you guys passed last year have not been put into their correct sections here.
Okay.
But that's what we're working on next with E-code to update and then whether or not parking makes it into this round. Cause you gotta just pick a date at some point, cause we're always gonna be changing things. But I wanted originally to try to get the parking in there too, that's why we kinda held off as well.
So you don't have this in a format that you can change?
We do in the office, but we're not gonna do it. We have, a company that does it for us. So actually, they came in last week, which was just weird timing. I'm like, do you have our office bugged? We were just talking about this. And so I'm meeting with them, actually, we didn't set a time yet, but sometime this week.
So what's the timing on them doing that?
I think it can be whenever, because they're gonna be the ones that'll say, oh, that should be in this section. Like the driveway, I don't know where because it was an ordinance before, but that was a bad example. But the one that talks about, sign being out for 14 days, which was never able to accomplish, so we changed to 10, so that night, if there
We
was gonna be
changed
a
it to
public
10
hearing.
days so we
Right,
could speed up
so
the process.
Right. And not requiring a survey if there's no work outside of the building footprint. Childcare facility, that one actually would be easy to clear because it's just a change that the state
But
requires.
childcare was state mandated,
Right.
wasn't it?
And highway regulations, and what was the last one? There was one more. Oh, steep slopes, which also was in here, and obviously, you know, it's just changing the wording. So that, the company will do that. They update the zoning regulations. and then,
Where's this company out of?
I don't know, it's called the E-Code. The town has a contract with them.
They're in Connecticut or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Because let's, I kept asking you about getting regulations. We've talked about it for a long
Mhm.
time. And we've all had different books, different this,
Right.
different that. and-
So that was the goal. We just took it upon ourselves. We're gonna print them, so everybody has the same set to work from. And then even though they're not updated with all the, we have, on our website, we have all the updated amendments on it, so if, you know, if you can use it as a reference, but, I meant to ask Shane to include it in your regulations, so Thursday, or even next meeting, if you're not coming Thursday, we'll have the 5 printed, so you can just add
Yeah,
to the
we
back.
have a printed copy of that.
Yep.
What's not in these,
Yep.
so we can keep it as a packet.
Anybody have any questions with regard to this? I mean, it usually takes an act of Congress to get anything done, so.
I'm just, so this is what we should be referencing. in
That one you
this
should, if you have an older version, just
I do.
yeah,
Or
and it
the
probably,
webs-
sadly, the website coincides with this one,
Okay.
but the sad thing
On
is,
the website, but this coincides with the website.
the
Perfect.
date might be like one you already have. It matches the exact same title page, but it's not the same information. So use this one now as your go-to.
All right, thank you
You
for
can mark
getting
it up
that
and
to
everything.
us.
Excellent.
But then, when you do something with these people, if you could bring it, let us know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have an agenda for something that's involved with us, when I called the office, your secretary said, well, it's on the town website. I think we all have to be addressed with this stuff. We're all volunteers. We all have asked to get on this commission. We've been appointed.
You're talking about Thursday's meeting.
Well, I'm talking about our meetings
Oh, okay.
and
Yours,
anything we're involved with.
yeah.
Okay, because you were sending an invitation out that we were supposed to respond to for our own meeting.
Right.
And we're all volunteers, we all said we're gonna come to the meeting, so when you send the agenda out for it, if that's not an invitation to come to the meeting, I don't know what else is. But I don't particularly care about responding and saying I'll be at the meeting or not. If I'm not gonna be here, I'm gonna let somebody know about
Yeah,
it.
I just find it, for my personal Outlook calendar, I find it very helpful to have all my meetings in it, so in case I remember where I'm supposed to be.
Well, that's
So
fine.
if you
You're
don't want me to
involved with a
put
lot
that
of
out
stuff.
there, that's fine, we don't have to use that.
Well, I'm just, what's everybody else think about this?
On the,
Well, if we've got a meeting scheduled for the 2nd and 4th Monday,
right?
do you need a special invitation that comes through the email to say I'm coming or I'm
Well,
not
first of
coming?
all, that doesn't work on my email, so I never
Oh,
respond.
it doesn't? Oh, okay.
Well, I'm just saying, I think it's, to me, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it doesn't work, so I don't respond.
Okay, that's
So-
fine.
Well, and we get, you know.
Yeah, no, I
Shane
ex-
says this, or you send us email as a packet to pick
Yeah.
up. so
I
we know
always
there's a
expect you
meeting
guys
next
to be
Tuesday.
here, but I just figure it was an added courtesy
Half
if
of
you
those
wanted
things
to.
I've got a calendar on,
keep
I don't
track
know
of
what it means, nothing comes up, so
Mm.
it's just trash.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have any other? Maybe it's just me, I've been around here too long.
I always go to the website. I'm a modern guy, so I always look on the website anyway,
Oh, you do? Okay. I
put
don't,
my calendar.
but,
No, that will still, you'll get the email that has all the attachments, but then obviously we print them for the meeting.
I just think
And
it's
you can
important to
review
put it
ahead
on
of
the
time.
town website, because you got
Yeah.
other people looking at this that are not on the commission.
Right.
And I think that's valuable, but, all right, that's my opinion, but anybody objective?
Well, your point is that these meetings are already set in regulations
That's right.
for planning and zoning, so we're either here or we're not.
Right.
This is,
And everybody
Second and
really that
fourth.
sits here communicates if they're not gonna be here.
right,
And I, I think that's,
Yeah.
that's the, I think we've got a
just
good
another
commission.
layer that really isn't necessary. It's
Exactly,
Okay.
so,
yeah.
That's fine.
yeah.
All
That's
right,
one less thing for me too, so thank you.
so, town planner report.
We're gonna talk some planning now. You wanted to do planning meetings on the first one of the month, so.
We got a half hour.
But is-
We got a half hour?
That's it.
All right. What
What's this? Is
That's-
this something for
Well,
tonight?
that's one thing I wanna talk about with you
Oh,
guys.
okay, all right.
And what I thought might be
All
helpful
these meetings,
is-
they're probably just like you, they're on my Google Calendar forever.
let's go through hot
Whole
topics.
year.
Well, actually, if you don't mind,
It just continually rolls over.
we can talk about earth excavation in a general sense, that would be helpful.
Before we get to general sense, I'm a little bit concerned, Because if he submitted an application to you on June 11th,
It's not, it's just in open.gov. It hasn't been accepted by the commission yet.
right?
It's not the
but it's-
35, 65, 35 yet.
Why not? He submitted an application. So we either have to deem it's, we still have to act on it.
But it's.
You can, doesn't matter. You
Well,
can't just
here-
hold it up in your office and say it's incomplete. It still has to, it's submitted. It still has to come through the commission. You can't just hold it and say,
Well, Kristen,
right,
Lance accepted her application for the pot growing, which doesn't fit our regulations.
right.
So Lance either has to read our regulations before he sits down and has multiple meetings with the town manager and the different departments and boards, and not accept an application that is not permitted in our regulations. That's one thing.
Well, yeah, I agree. But if but even if it's not accepted, if an application is submitted,
We just deny it without prejudice.
we can do that, but it has to go through the process.
I agree with you. I agree with
And,
you.
you know, I mean, I think it would be incumbent upon our planner or the whole staff to say, it's not an allowable use, no, you shouldn't spend your money on this application. But,
Right, but we pitched it for farm.
but when, for earth excavation, did they pay a fee?
Actually,
If they paid a fee, that's, you know, the date that it's submitted, and it's been 60 days.
Good point, good point.
Yeah.
And so it might be incomplete, but we're setting ourselves up for a
Yep,
lawsuit.
big time.
So they either need to request a continuance, because we don't have a public hearing set, or withdraw, wait for, you know, get a complete application and resubmit. And maybe you can waive the fee because you haven't paid legal notices and stuff yet. But if it's been in your office in September and we don't even have a public hearing, I think we're setting ourselves up for trouble.
I agree with you. I agree
Big
with
time.
you. It's a good point, thank you. We can't keep continuing to get things that are incomplete and telling the applicant that they're incomplete, and they don't do anything, then just bring them to us, we'll deny it without prejudice, and then they'll get another time to start. But then we deny that possibility of somebody suing us because we haven't acted on something, even though you've said it's incomplete or we have.
Yeah.
That's the point.
And so, you can only advise them so much, right?
Right.
But if they refuse to submit the paperwork, well, then we can go through the public hearing and come up with if we have enough information or not, and then deny it, but you
I don't
can't,
even think we have to
We
have
don't
a
have-
public hearing.
Right.
right, oh, yeah,
I don't think-
yeah, if it's not
well, that's part of the question too with this one specifically.
It's incomplete. I don't see
It's
any
not
reason for a
technically
public hearing,
No.
because we're not taking any
If
action.
if you've given the applicant an information that it says it's an incomplete application, and they don't do anything about it, then you bring it to the next, schedule it on our next meeting, we'll then take action on it.
Right.
And get it off the board and let them start over.
That was originally why it was on the agenda. But I figured,
And sometimes we get an application and the applicant might say, I have some more documentation for you, but I want a public hearing. Maybe we can schedule it 2 months out, and in that time, they can get the information, we still have the public hearing. But you can't just sit in your office.
No, I agree. So I mean, with this, you have an application, and they paid a fee.
right.
So I would
that
ask them-
wasn't Until accepted. that's
I
when
would
it was
ask
hard.
them, but or 30 days from the date it was submitted in your office, it's automatically accepted.
Yeah.
So,
Alright, so now we're in the 35-day period.
right.
where they would have
And
So let's,
so-
why don't we just act on it and deny it without prejudice?
Well, I
and-
think that we should ask them to withdraw their application and submit a complete application.
And if they don't, then we should then
But-
act on it and
But
deny
Rista,
it.
given the time thing that you're talking about here, shouldn't we be denying it without prejudice at this point? It's been 2
Well,
months.
But I think that if we make a decision to deny,
Yeah.
it's an appealable action.
Deny without prejudice?
Not when you do it without prejudice.
Well, I think they can always deny any decision, right?
They can
They
what?
I think they can always appeal any decision that we make, even if it's with or
Well,
without
if
prejudice.
it's, if the reason is an incomplete application, what are they appealing?
But we haven't even seen the application.
I see, okay, we have it. Is that what this is?
I mean, this is a map, but like, I just think it's cleaner if we just ask them to withdraw and see if they do. And if they don't,
Then bring it
Then
in and we'll deny it without
Right.
prejudice.
right.
Okay, but
They're
I'm
using
still
that
wondering
site,
if we're
you
gonna
know.
run afoul of the time thing to do that. at this
Not
So-
close to it, you're almost there,
What's that?
you're getting there,
August.
you count up the days.
Oh, yeah, what are we at?
From the 12th, it was accepted in the office, June 12th,
On open.gov, correct?
right? So that was
I
accepted
mean,
by,
anybody can submit an
right, but
application anytime.
it was accepted at that
Well,
point.
that's the
So
point.
I-
That's when the
Gets
clock starts
accepted.
ticking.
On June
No.
11th, so then you have 30 days for automatic acceptance, which would be July 12th.
60 days, you're at August 12th,
Right.
61.
There,
Oh.
well, 60, 30, 60, right? 60 days to set the public
31,
hearing.
yeah.
But so we have till September to set the public hearing.
So we'll put it on the agenda.
But
for
what's
26th.
their
Awesome.
what's their reaction to saying it's incomplete?
So here's here's the backstory. Obviously, you guys told me, find out what's going on in the property. So we approached Mountaintop, been working with Wes, it's been great. And I said, Wes, I need you to put in for an earth excavation application, even though you're not doing blasting or gravel mining or anything. This is what we have in place for
That's
stockpiles and
Yeah.
materials. This is the permit that you need. Now, part of the problem is the previous permit was under Gordon Pepper, when, he passed away.
Yeah.
We looked it up, it's been 5 years. So it's really not a 2-year renewal at this point. They're
It's
starting
done, yeah.
sort of fresh.
That's right.
So their application needs to have their site plan, like they did up at their 179 complex. You saw this back in December, so you might remember it. But this is what they submitted to you guys for approval for the renewal back in December for the other site.
This is the
So-
north.
North Main
Main.
Street.
Street.
Yeah.
So this is what I told them they needed, and they said, well, we're not doing any activity on the property, so they're trying to use the 2000 site plan or survey as their application.
I think the fellow that did it has passed away.
Right.
But what are they doing? What are they applying for?
They're technically not doing anything, but there is millings on the site that they're
Well,
taking
they're-
from and going away.
That's right.
And
Well,
there
they're
is storage
stockpiling
and
material and
containers.
removing material,
Right.
both.
And they're
Period.
storing all kinds of equipment down there as well.
Right, so there was just something in our regulations though, that, again, I wanted to talk to you on Thursday, but maybe you can help me now, what was the original intent?
What zone are they in?
Town gateway.
Gateway.
This one that you put,
Yeah,
with
and I
that,
highlighted, so.
page 84.
Okay, thanks. So really my question is,
Yeah,
are they
you go to the back
exempt
page.
according to E, stockpiling materials and debris associated with off-site activities such as construction and demolition?
500 cubic years, it's yards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good one.
Change that one.
500 cubic years. Whew, we got a long ways to stack that up.
So
Do
basically
they
it
wanna
says,
do earth excavation there? Are they
not
going?
yet, they're not intending to.
But
take
there,
any
that's like a
materials out.
landscaping construction yard,
Right,
right?
that's what's actually happening on the property right now.
What?
Landscaping construction yard, essentially.
Are they exceeding 500 yards?
No, because we don't have a survey.
Well, 211 West Wakefield Boulevard, they calculated just over 500 yards for removal.
Yeah, I would say the pile definitely,
Yeah, so
Much
if you
more than
compare
500 yards.
West
Huge pile
Wakefield
down there.
Yeah.
to Mountain Top,
Right.
you'd be over 500 yards, right? So if they're over 500 yards, then, they're stockpiling more than 500, you need a special permit. I think E means something less than 500? Huh, that's interesting. Stockpiling materials.
what's your interpretation? You read the regulation.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. So, in an ideal world, they'd go for an earth excavation permit, and they'd be able to supply the survey like they did on their other property, and you guys could grant it. That's what I was trying to work towards.
Except, every earth excavation permit that we get, right, that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them, you need the whole site topoed, you need existing grades, you need proposed grades, you need a reclamation plan, like, it's a thing. If they're not doing that, how are they gonna just show us a plan of the grades, and it doesn't show us what we need them to show us? Now, if it's we're looking for a site plan for a landscape contractor yard, they're gonna show us where they're stockpiling, where their vehicles,
Oh,
like, the stuff that they're doing, they need to show us, and so, if they're not doing an earth excavation permit, providing, how, like, we're not approving, I don't know if I'm saying that right, like, I guess I don't, I'm just trying to think through it
The
out
other
loud.
issue, I mean, we have no idea where they're storing it, no drawings, no proposed stockpile. And you've got a stream coming down between the two properties. So you've got wetlands
Any of the
issues involved
following.
there. All right, how many feet away are they from the wetlands? Things like that. So without a drawing, we don't know if they're in violation of wetlands.
And so, earth excavation special permit shall not be required for any of the following. So, if you're less than 500 square feet, and I would say or, and because it doesn't say all of the following, but for any of the following. Or
I don't see
stockpiling
a stream line.
of materials and debris associated with off-site
Go down there,
activities.
look, there's water running down there.
On this side of
So
this,
I think we need a special exception application for a landscape construction yard and a site plan to show us how they're gonna operate that
It runs
yard,
right down the side of Prawls.
based on what you're saying.
Water runs down through.
what's that line?
Which is fine, you can advise on that. Would you accept a hand-drawn one? Yes, or probably no, but.
Well, no, but we might not need,
Okay.
we need wetlands,
water
we need,
coming
they might be
here.
able to use more of a base map if this is existing site conditions.
But
You know, we might not need a
been on
whole
all through that
A2
Prawl property in the
topo of
Right.
however many acres this is, if they're only using a piece of it, we might not need,
The area that they're using.
They came in with an earth excavation application?
That's what I recommend.
Oh, I see, okay.
Can you bring up the property and the
What did they
adjoining
want?
property on the map here?
Yeah.
What did they want? I mean, why did this come up?
Well, because we determined they were using the property and didn't have
I see.
permit to use it.
Got it, okay.
So I think what there is maybe a potential gap here is that
Hey, come down a
they're-
little bit more.
they're saying that the
Okay,
earth
go back.
excavation
Go-
portion
go
already
back up
began,
a little.
has already been performed.
I'm sorry, what's that?
There's existing stockpiles. They're not removing.
To be honest, there's only one Billings pile that's like kinda right in here, that's all they're doing is moving and.
It's a huge pile,
It is a huge pile,
and
So-
they're using it.
but they're not driving up and around to the backside or doing anything.
But-
There's storage containers that are being stored on the side of the building, they're allowing someone probably for rent to store there. But that's really all that's happened on the property. They've been very honest about what's going on.
Driveway, there's a good-sized culvert goes under the road. Water runs down through there.
Right on the town line, so
Yeah.
Torrington's like literally right over the
Oh.
property.
The property just before you get to where Hamhead is.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah,
All the trucks are driving in and out.
right, right, yeah. There's always something going on there when you drive down Route 8.
Well, the problem is we've got a history with Danny and, his resistance to filing applications.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. He didn't even think he needed an application, so he wasn't applying for anything.
That's right.
Okay,
So the pile already exists, right? We're not destabilizing any more land,
No.
right? So the A portion, it's not like we're removing any earth or bringing in earth from the grade, right? It's stockpiled. But
So if you've been down there,
what I
how many
think,
vehicles parked in that lot?
what I think, one moment.
I don't know if there's actually any of them that are permitted, to be honest.
What? Go ahead.
Go ahead, yeah.
So if you go to earth excavation permit, it does talk about, well, how many trucks are planning to come in and out, what time of day are they gonna do this? So that, I think you're right in a sense that earth excavation is the right route, because you have a stockpile, you need to remove it and send it somewhere. But I see your point, there's a bit of a hole, like, we're not necessarily, we have a stockpile, we're not bringing it anymore, we're not disturbing the land
Well, they
any
are,
further.
there are bringing in and taking out, is what
Oh.
they're doing.
But I think,
It's more than 500.
Water course shown on the map.
and I think we
coming
can
down through?
regulate the truck traffic through a
Okay.
landscaping contracting use as well.
Down through.
You know, we can talk about
It's shown on that map.
the condition.
I don't think we have a problem with going for the earth excavation. Their issue is they won't be able to get a survey in a timely
Satellite
manner.
view or not, no.
So that's why they're trying to use the one that they already had. And they had originally marked it up by hand, and that's when I asked George, is that gonna be acceptable? And he said no.
So are they gonna further disturb the
No,
grade?
that's-
Well,
Do
they
we
say-
need?
They say no, but
They say no,
Yeah.
so we have been out there, and I believe them.
Driveway went into the house.
right now, but then they'd have to come back.
House that-
Right.
here.
So what Riss is talking about is
That's to the side of the house where the water is.
trying to clean it up and give them what they want to use it for now.
You'll see it on
And if they
here.
want to change how they want to use it
You showed it.
and go into, I mean, that's what he's been doing. Look at he's supposed to be finished in Torrington, in what, another year or two?
Yep,
Top of the
2
mountain
years.
there.
And, you know, he's got this big quarry up in Route 800, or Route 8 north.
By that.
So, I mean, that's a natural to, you know, continue there. That whole ridge line that goes down through that people are mining out of. But the point, though, is he wants the truck in and out of that site. He's got equipment parked on it. You know, it seems to me that if he comes in with I mean, if he's not gonna do anything with it, then take the time to get somebody to survey the thing, and it's gonna benefit them in the long run on how they're gonna use it in the future, and just don't continue to do what they're doing on there until they do this. Let them know that, I think, don't you think?
But I think I'm not disagreeing, but I think, you know, a survey for an earth excavation is gonna be very different than the survey we need for a site plan. We're not asking for topo and that, you know, we wanna know the site, we need a site plan. What's he doing? How's he doing it? You know, we don't necessarily need to know existing grades, proposed grades, cause he's not changing that. Like, so, yeah, we'll wanna know probably some existing grades like we would any other site plan.
Well, part of this that could help them understand what's going on is, have you given them a copy of what the permit for Pepper is? So they know what the
Oh.
restraints are?
I don't even know if I could find it, to be honest. We were trying to figure out the date. Well, we know it was at least 5 years ago, so maybe that's
Yeah, at least that.
passed away.
But you can't find the record on it?
I haven't seen a renewal since I've been on the board,
No.
Yeah.
so that's been
Well, how long ago did he
2015,
pass away?
16, so. Year
Eh,
ago, about a year ago.
Yeah, at a minimum, you should check for any open conditions, right, of that permit, that get carried forward.
Yeah.
And then is the rest of the property at final grade, or it's
No,
just
no,
whatever it
it's
is?
It's partially, they stripped a lot of material off, but they got down to
Pretty
some
much been
rock.
stripped down to rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all that's left there now is ledge.
Is it contained and stabilized? Is it,
Well, if it's rock, it won't erode, right? Or is there
Well,
still?
no, it's true,
Well,
but there's
behind it,
water
but-
on there and,
Yeah.
you know,
But you got the Still
But-
River across the street,
yeah.
which flows up to
But-
Winston.
But the point is, they've got the reclaimed asphalt that's been brought in, and they're continuing to use that. And so they need a permit to do it, based on our regulations. I mean, if this stockpiling materials and debris associated with off-site activities such as construction and demolition, that's permitted without a permit.
Without an earth excavation permit, but I think it still needs a special exception.
I agree with you.
Landscape, and I would say under landscape and construction, but if, you know, for some reason you guys all thought, I'm not gonna,
But I think it should be clear what you're asking them for. And if they need more time in order to get a survey to do this, then tell them, fine, but just don't continue to operate out of that site. They've got other sites that they could operate out of
500 yards is
that
only
they've got
33
approval to do
truckloads.
this with.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's got a lot more than that down there.
Do what?
We're talking how
I
big the
said,
pile
yeah,
is.
basically 500 yards is 33 truckloads, 34
Oh,
truckloads.
he's got a lot more than
That's
that.
15 yards per triaxle, so, oh yeah, I would say so.
But I would suggest
I was
having
today
a,
how he's getting the trucks up there, are they backing them up or they're pushing them with a bulldozer?
I don't know.
'Cause it's pretty high.
It is high, I know it. But I can see there's activity. It's all the way over to the southern border.
Yeah.
So
I
I'd
go
say
back
be
tomorrow
clear
and
with
look at
him,
it, so.
because if you don't be clear with him, then anybody else comes in and starts fooling around with this.
Okay.
Anybody disagree with that?
No, but
So you're saying at the very minimum, we need a site plan. We don't need an
Yeah.
excavation plan, we just need a site plan.
And tell us what he wants to
And what
use
he's
on
doing
that
with it.
site plan. And
Okay.
then that's, you know,
Show us the stockpile, where the materials can
and
be
then if he
stockpiled.
wants to go in and do further work on it, he can expand the application for further work.
For excavation.
But I do
I
think
think that-
Adam's point is valid, that, you know, with with this kind of use, we wanna know a little bit about hours of operation, number of trucks.
Right.
True, oh, yes, yes, I agree.
Gotta have that.
The other thing is that I've noticed on the site that is south of this, that O&G has been on, you know, boy, I'll tell you, they truck out of there and they've got more crap getting out on the road.
Yeah, they're
Who
hauling
the
off,
hell's paying
they're
attention
hauling
to
off on the
Victoria?
mountain up there instead of
Yeah.
Haynes.
No, they stopped hauling out
They're
down
not hauling
Haynes.
off of Haynes, they're hauling off their mountain.
Yeah, they are, I see that's
O&G is,
opened
yeah.
up.
They got some big piles up there too, 'cause I could see
Huge
that from
piles.
Route 8.
Yep, yeah.
So, whatever we do, we've gotta make sure we ensure that they're gonna protect the roadway coming off of it, because it just makes a mess for everybody. It's a state highway they're coming out on.
I'm surprised that the state hasn't raised that with them, that they don't make them sweep it every day or something, because there's a lot of material
Yeah.
on the road.
Are you clear what we're asking for?
Yeah,
Okay.
and like I said, I talk with them pretty regularly, so
I mean, we're not trying to be, I mean, it's in our regulations and, you know,
I know him very well too, so if you ever needed,
Danny's,
I think we all probably know him,
we've
right?
been involved with this thing with them for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Before I even had a commission,
Parents,
that's gotta be
everybody.
a long time ago.
Planning?
So the planner
I
report.
know, we're supposed to be doing some planning.
You got 5 more minutes.
Come on, I can do
It's only 8 o'clock, that's it.
Jeez.
I'm making a motion. Lauren wants to go home.
So I'll give you an update on some projects and then you can, we can talk more, like, but 137 Torrington Road used to be Picasso's property, now it's owned by Yield Industries. Had 2 meetings with them since about redevelopment for that property. I think a lot of you probably know Craig. He's got a lot of projects going on at the moment, so my goal is to just keep him focused on his newest acquisition here in town. And one of the things that might drive this project is the Sue Grossman extension. So we're all sort of in agreement that when it gets from DMV, should go by the old sports dome building into Picasso, now Yield Industries property, follow the wetlands as close as possible, and then get you out onto New Street. That's the new goal instead of just blowing through the wetlands along Route 800. And Craig's very much in favor. He's an avid biker, hunter, right, go to hiker, whatever himself. He said he uses the trail every day, so he definitely would like to pursue that. So one of the things we're working with is Tim Wally had done a survey of the property and try to get now the wetlands flagged, because that will determine how close, basically, that's what Craig wants to know, is how close can he be in the wetlands or next to them, which will then give him his building envelopes for the property for redevelopment. Now, if we can't get sewer, so this is the other thing that's kind of in play, is the sewer line is gonna extend hopefully from Maple Street down to the DPW garage. Here, let's put it up, so maybe we can see. And the goal then is then for the sewer to continue onto Yield Industries property. So Maple Street is up here, and there's current, that's the end. Let's see if it comes up. Yep, so the green line there. So this whole neighborhood service from that. So the wanna bring it down, which used to be an old roadway, down to the DPW garage, which is here on the site. And then the thought was if the trail was gonna basically come out across the street over here, then all the infrastructure could go underneath. So it's all being as part of that, considerations for the redevelopment of the property.
So where is this property from there?
He starts basically here, and he comes up NA, of course, but if he owns this one might be state of Connecticut. Here, Jay Estates, that's Curtis, but I think he's got basically these two, this one, the old building is there, another storage building. They
Right
currently-
down to the old sports dome.
So does he go out to New Street?
No, but the roadway that comes off of Standard, cause state of Connecticut, I believe owns this one. Wait a minute, is it this one or is it this one?
But if you go all the way up the end of Standard Avenue, I think he goes up to it.
Yeah, yep, it's just a short,
Yeah.
whether it would be along the road, and New Street can actually accommodate the trail on it itself, cause it's wide enough. So the thought is if the trail can kind of hug this wetlands, which might make for nice, overlooks and have other opportunities, go through all these properties, all the way down.
And he owns all those?
Yep,
All with the sports dome, yeah.
yep, and he owns the sports dome, but he's kicking himself.
He
let it
does?
go.
Oh, yeah.
He did previously.
Oh, he did previously, okay. Are they doing anything there now?
They have not pulled any permits. Supposedly they were waiting on some equipment before, it's been almost a year. So
Yeah, I know,
I
it's,
don't know.
last time I went by, it looked stagnant.
And they'll give us an easement for the trail?
Yeah.
Sagging, you said?
Stagnant.
Oh. I thought you
So-
said sagging. I'm like,
Nothing
that's
there.
bad. Yeah.
Nothing being done.
So some
Not
rough
maintained either.
calculations, if there's gonna be, septic, you could do probably 5 buildings. The goal is this to be like a working man campus, place for our landscapers who are all on residential properties, place to go. Obviously be working on the site, repairing trucks or mechanics or whatever ended up being the use. But, fairly attractive buildings, kinda similar to, if anybody's seen the Firestone building in Avon. It's in that model of like metal frame, maybe some stone facade.
Nice project they did there.
And
What's
they're
the-
just kind of universal.
What's the time frame for the sewer line?
Don't know, this is what we're all working towards and talking about.
So how many properties are gonna develop in there with sewer?
The sewer doesn't even come down here at this part.
I know, but if it goes in there,
Ideally we bring at least down to the DMV and town, the state garage. But even going further down would be really great, because it unlocks more potential for redevelopment down.
Is that all in the sewer service area, or the potential sewer service area?
It'd have to be a low pressure, pressurized system.
Yeah,
Because it's, your grade there is below what the sewer plant is now, so it's gonna have to be a low pressure
Yep.
type system.
I mean, that's
So-
where it was gonna go down to when it was
Somewhere else
the
around the lake.
development for the 18-hole golf course, the big project up on the hill.
More pump stations, but.
They were gonna hook them
Yeah.
down 40, or your old Route 8, which is 800,
yep.
and then come up through the project. So even water was gonna have boosters in it.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening behind the scenes conversation. Finally met with the engineering, Cardinal Engineering, who had done, I think, the original plans, and they're the ones that are now working with Tim Molly to, I'm trying everybody's names, but the surveyor to, get the wetlands flagged, so they know what to work with. So let's quickly talk about D and M. I brought it up last meeting. So they bought, which is now 15 Co Street, we gave it an address, the corner lot of 183 and Route 44. The parking lot they wanna do there, I found out more questions. I know at the time I didn't, when I brought it up, didn't know what they wanted. It's really to park their flatbed truck, and they're gonna have overflow for cars that they, have long-term repairs on. So that's what they wanna use it for in the short term. It's not gonna be, I'm sorry, employee parking, so they can get them out of the lot, be there as well. But it's all gonna be fenced, So what we asked was, should they be coming in for site plan approval, or because it was a parking lot always? And we know exactly what you want. I mean, we asked about dumpsters, you're not gonna have that. You're not doing any repairs on site. It's literally just gonna be parking for the flatbed and employee parking. Can they just, can Jeff make a
Employee
decision?
parking of what?
That's the town gateway again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Town gateway.
employee parking from where?
D&M,
DNM.
they're down
We
there.
only
next-
have like 2 mechanics, I think, but, so it's not even that big of a deal.
Okay.
I think they're looking at re-blacktopping it and
Not yet,
stuff, or what? you know.
because they've also talked about potentially adding a building there in the future, so they wanna make that.
How did you approve the overflow parking on Winston Road for, was it Subaru or?
I don't remember how that happened. That was on, up by Flashback?
Next to Flashback.
Yeah.
Basically, we allowed Subaru to park new cars in there. They did it for like a year or so. Maybe 2.
So
I think-
they'll do whatever, but we just were gonna ask,
I think we should see something as, you know, what do they propose for fencing? Are they gonna have chain link? Are they gonna
Yep.
put the plastic slats in it so it's
Yep.
not visible, things like
Correct.
that we,
Yep.
How big is that lot?
It's, believe it or not, they said when Hudson Wire were there or whatever, they could accommodate.
Well, there's a lot more land there than what was
No.
just paved.
yeah.
Come on, how many?
40
Oh,
empty
40.
cars?
Yeah, 40,
Yeah.
come on.
Or I guess there was a dealership also, they
Well-
had cars in there as well.
They bought it.
Where they are, where the dealership was, it was a Chevrolet dealership there.
They were planning to put a new dealership building on the Hudson Wire property that was on the 44 side of the river. But the plan was to go along and use the wall that was right along the river as the back of the building. And I've seen the plans, and, I mean, this was proposed in the 70s for crying out
Right.
loud. And it was, the whole development on Meadow Street was 45 units, and that was all approved by everybody. And they never went forward because the market went south on it. But that's a bigger lot there on the corner than what has been opened up for parking. It's just they hadn't ever used it entirely.
Is that town gateway?
It is. And they cleaned out crazy amount of debris.
Yeah,
started,
they
like,
did, they cleaned it up a lot.
dumpsters. I mean, it looks nice,
Yeah.
it's ready kinda to go. And we were kinda hoping that they could just do a zoning permit and Jeff gives the authority.
Well, they should show a site plan of what they're planning to do so that there's a definition that can be inspected, I
So,
think.
yeah. I mean,
They're getting a survey anyways, so that's not a problem either.
Because we had the property surveyed, and I think DeCara did it. So it shouldn't be hard to upgrade it.
That was a standalone piece, cause Fetzer owns everything going up 44
Sure.
from there.
Yeah.
He's got that for sale.
Yep.
I think we have to be careful with saying, well, I like that, that's a good use, let's make that zoning permit. I think we have to identify what the use is and see how it's allowed in that zone. And so I'm trying to look, and I think, that's why I asked how that was done, because whatever we did that under, when maybe it was warehouse.
That wasn't done under anything, that just happened. The Route 800 Subaru thing.
So, if he's gonna put a building up there in the future, and he's got,
I don't think anytime soon, but they just asked if they were gonna do that, what was the next steps. So we said
so,
they could.
5 years from now, 3 years?
I'd be surprised if it's for 5 years.
Oh, okay. But I was wondering if it should be part of his site plan for his parking lot, where the building's gonna be, and that way we don't really have to worry about how to approve the parking lot.
So this is the site.
How big is that? Click on it.
Look at it again.
Yeah.
Half an acre.
Yeah.
And they're not clearing into the hillside at all, they're just taking.
And who owns the other
advantage of-
piece?
That's it.
This one is owned by Reynolds, yeah.
So they got a right of way over that property?
They do, there is some passive
There's another
repass.
entrance off of
Yeah.
Mill Street.
One's right here.
So with half an acre, they don't really have much room for anything.
Yeah.
Parking, but- were just,
Is that 200 feet from their other light lot?
it is long,
Yeah.
it is further away, but we're kinda thinking this has got a historic precedent for it being used as parking.
Well, click on it, let's see how far it is. You can measure, right?
I think I did this once, and it was like 300 something. But that's not even the building, it just comes up to,
Is it from lot line to lot line?
which one is them, this?
No,
It's right there, yeah.
that's a gas station.
Well, that's,
Next building to the right, that
yeah,
one there.
there it is.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, it's over 200.
550 feet. Too bad.
But I told them that we were working on parking regulations, but I said because this was always a parking lot, they really should be able to use it as a parking lot again.
Even though it hasn't been used as that for ages?
So how was it, who used it as a parking lot before?
Hudson Wire,
For
Or
Hudson
no,
Wire
it's
Factory.
It was over,
across
Well,
the street.
60s, but
Yeah,
I,
when they
wasn't there,
were-
I thought it was being used even after that though.
not in the 30 years I've been here, but
No, it was burned in the 80s,
Well, we tore it down in the 70s.
or the
We
70s.
had Manford in there and took the whole thing down.
yes, that hasn't been used for anything, it's just been vacant. So how could that use continue after, 40 years? Non-use, I don't.
Well, then we're gonna have a problem because greater than 200 feet from the principal dwelling.
But there, we have a storage business outdoor limited. Vehicle sales and service, like, so it could be,
Storing cars.
yeah, it's business of storage of materials outside of a structure other than fencing, either as an accessory or primary use. Yeah, car isn't necessarily material, but I don't know. As a business is storing something, doesn't necessarily. And that is Town Gateway, right?
Yep.
Did you mention that they might wanna put a structure there in the future? Was that the same guy?
They just, like I said, Donnie and Mike asked, that's all. They just wanted to know if they could. And I said yes, but obviously I've got to come forward before you decide on for special permit. But I just could tell from their tone and whatever, that's not in short term by
Right.
any means. They just wanted to use this really as like overflow parking.
Well, it sounds like staff parking in their trucks, their truck. yeah.
Well, that and the cars they don't get to,
Oh,
Right.
yeah, long-term
long-term
repair,
repair.
yeah.
that's the worst part.
So I think if they're gonna put fencing and so forth, you should have some kind of a site plan that shows this stuff.
Okay.
So make sure it's in the right places, because it's all residential around it.
Yeah, it's just a one neighborhood effect, and they're gonna put up a nice, wooden fence on that side.
Yeah, toward the house, that's privacy fence type.
Yeah.
Smart.
That was used for a long time, though, Hudson Wire.
Why can't it be
Yes, it
storage?
was.
You just say.
Well, it could be. It's just that the storage of materials, if we wanna consider cars, materials outside of structure, I mean, I think that's probably its best fit.
Yeah,
Well, storage business,
seems like that might work.
special permit.
Special permit.
Krista, did you give them what the reference area that you're talking about, so they could ask them to do that?
So it's storage business outdoor limited on 8.
Right.
Or on page 8.
Page 8, under special permit required.
I mean, it could be, you know, a vehicle sales as an accessory use to vehicle sales and service, if it was a.
I think we ought to facilitate, they seem to be doing a good job up there. with their-
Yeah, and I don't want this to sound like I don't want them to go there. I think it's a good use. I think what you're doing is a good idea, but I think we need to be careful that we're treating people fairly. You know, if we allow that for them in the
could
town
come in again.
gateway, and somebody else comes in, we have to say how we did it. I would look to see what we did up on Winstead Road, if there was a, did they come before the commission?
Yes.
Yeah, so look and see what was done there, and use the same use, and if there's no other use, I would say under storage, business storage.
I think that fits it, you know, based on what they wanna do, so.
You said it was next to Flashback Welding?
Yes, just north of it. There's a long narrow strip there. A lot of times you'll see trailer trucks parked there now.
Seen boats.
About a year, yeah, there's been boats, they're stored there during the winter time.
Bruce puts boats in there, and
Yeah.
there's semis parked in there.
Okay, what else?
All right, next one. Let's see. We have a sidewalk subcommittee, and we're moving forward.
What's a
Got two
sidewalk
meetings so far. It's pretty much been Rista, Jim, Jeff, and I.
Who,
Um,
Jim?
Jim Rollins. And
It'll take a few years.
so we're
Jesus Christ.
figuring out our priorities.
than our driveway
No kidding, holy mackerel.
But I don't know if, I think I CC'd you all on, we promised walk, which is kind of Krista's brainchild for the whole region. And we did our walk last Tuesday, which I thought went really well. Honestly, I like the Torrington one a little better, but that's okay. I got more useful information on that, which is.
That's because you already know everything for here, right?
Well, maybe that could be too. But it's funny, I mentioned, you know, as we're walking, I was like, usually I complain, oh, our sidewalks are really crappy and blah, blah, blah. And actually, I thought we presented well to the team who was out, from Main Street. So it was like, you know, the town doesn't really look all that bad. Sure, there's some curb cuts that we should have, but the streets themselves, the sidewalks were in good shape. It wasn't all sand and hot mess or trash or anything. We did notice in front of the church, and I did reach out to them, that they had a lot of weeds and stuff growing out, and I asked if you've got a property maintenance person or, you know, from.
Which church?
The Catholic Church, St. Joseph's. And so I
This
made that
church that
connection.
got sold to that group, they're not doing much to maintain that yard.
Well, we didn't go that far, so let's stay this way.
You should. You need to go up that way.
Yes, we know.
Send Jeff up there.
So we walked to basically East End Park, and good conversations, and obviously when we got to the Gap, which I keep talking about with the old Cumberland Farm site, and then across the street.
Who's going in there, by the way? They took the sign down.
Supposedly it's under contract, we've heard a lot of rumors, but nothing,
Okay.
It's got sold.
yeah.
Yeah, it was sold.
It's sold.
Jamal Industries, or LLC.
Okay. Oh, interesting, okay. That's the same one going skinny pen. Alright. And I'll have a
That's-
conversation with them.
No, that's not who bought it.
Wasn't?
No. This is the guy from Torrington bought
Was it? No, the guy from Torrington bought Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's opening, as a nail salon. The middle unit will have, as a hairdresser, and then she's gonna, the third section, they're gonna have, they haven't had a use yet for it. But I
But he's
think
gonna
they will
subdivide it
come
into
with
3
some-
sections on there. Good.
Yep, they did some, cleaning up. of
That's a great
the
building,
driveway
because
for
you've
it.
got parking.
Parking,
Huge
sure,
amount of
very
parking
few
there.
pieces of name.
That's worth its weight in gold there,
Yeah.
so.
So is this, when you say Jamal or whatever, is that different than this group?
Jamori,
That's not the one that bought Cumbies?
no,
Oh, okay, sorry.
no, I don't think so, it was a different name.
Okay.
What
So,
is that
yeah.
lot?
That's Union Pin up at the head of the lake.
So we always call this, well, I do anyways, the Gap,
That was the old
because
factory that was there
you've got the old Cumberland Farms,
100 years ago.
which is empty,
You know, where the spillways are, it's that land.
and then across the street, which Morsel One was empty, but now,
Yeah.
and then you have that section that's
No, those are
pretty much all,
those are the apartment buildings.
yeah,
That one
Louis
just put
Diner,
down.
and that's all empty below. So this whole section of town needed some help, so if we can get some suggestions from the Promise Walk, I think that would have been worth the time, personally. I have some ideas, but, you know, town doesn't have any money, but anyways, we'll go there. Let's talk about 88 Hubbard Street, Charlene's favorite, because I actually have to meet with them on Wednesday. So they, you know, we'll talk about uses that have been going on there. Last thing we could find in our records is it was approved for a car repair or car dealership or something.
What?
This is at the end of Hubbard Street, which is the.
that
Bill
one.
Hickey Farm Building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the old Hickey Fir, yeah.
So, right now there's a.
When did that get approved?
That was
Because there's
back
a-
in the 80s or something, it's old.
All right, well, that's dead then. Because there's a glass
Am I struggling?
Going.
Against Hubbard.
place in there now.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Going this way.
You're
There
almost
we go.
there.
Right there.
Okay. So, speaking with Nancy, because we're getting a lot of complaints from the neighborhood now.
On which,
It's getting busy in there.
Dynaport,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and unfortunately, the activities that are going on, you know, in the past, I think it was a glass blowing place, and they coincided fine. But with the landscaping person who starts early, and then VPN Alex, who has been great with working with, you know, he's got trucks in and out doing deliveries. So they complain when the road gets blocked. Of course, now this is all under construction, so at this point, it probably isn't even a big of an issue, but we need to talk with her about, you know, at least getting the proper permits in place for the uses that are happening there, or getting to review. But the other thing that was weird is in the zoning layer, maybe it'll show up. Was this intentional that you only wanted that section of the property in town residential, town center residential, and this section in rural residential?
Zoom out.
Because when we were looking it up, obviously for the property records, it just lists it as rural residential.
The other side of the street.
Well, right now,
But because that goes into the watershed, so
Yeah.
yeah, that is rural. There's a,
but was that the intent, was to split it on the road there? So half the parcels in one zone and half in the other?
oh,
Looks like
Okay.
it's split.
Oh, no?
well,
my recollection that we weren't splitting properties. We put zone to include the entire piece.
Okay.
no, not, but George, no,
Turn zoning back on?
Yeah.
What's that?
see.
The layer, what is,
Turn the
he's
zoning
saying
layer
this-
back on,
This is,
please. So it's just behind that.
So here
Yeah.
is the line for.
this is rural.
All rural residential behind,
But the houses are in town center
town center,
residential.
right.
So it's just that property, but that's all going back into the watershed. That's on.
That all goes back up to the dry dam.
Yeah,
Yep.
so there's nothing, I think you did point out that way, as rural
Okay.
residential. Why are you asking that?
Well, because when I go see her, I gotta know what zone they're in.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
All right. Okay. So, just to let you know,
But she doesn't, she owns all the way, go down a little bit, Lance, I mean, she just owns that.
she's got the whole piece. the
Oh, I see,
18
this is
acres.
part of her parcel?
Yeah, 18
Holy
acres.
smokes,
Yeah.
how did
It was just all part of that
How
land.
did that
at one
happen
point.
historically? Why is that land part of this, cause that was a, factory,
It was a Hickey Fur Factory,
yeah.
right.
And that was part of it? No.
I believe so.
Wow.
So what's that strip between the two buildings?
The road.
That,
That's
Yeah,
Hubbard
that's
That's the
Street.
end of Hubbard Street.
no,
right
the
there.
next one, just to the other
Oh,
side
that's
of.
the old railbed.
That's the old
state
railroad bed.
Connecticut.
That's where the railroad went. Going out of Winston up by the Matterhorn Dam. Towards Norfolk.
That's the other Barbarino parcel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but I guess what Lance is asking is that since this is all this parcel, only this part is town center and the rest of that parcel, their parcel is rural residential, which is kinda weird. How did that happen? So,
Don't know.
Remember seeing all
Yeah, I don't remember it, but
how about, and this,
That one's rural
'cause that's part of the last house up on the end of John Street that just sold,
Yeah.
that, that property there is.
I didn't even see that listed. This is the next one I'm going after for
Hey.
blight.
No blight
Well,
there.
you're on industrial property there anyways. That used to be a milk bottling plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do that again, though, I don't, just because historically it was, like claiming industrial, yeah.
If you give me 4 more minutes, I'll promise we can get you out.
That's all you got till 8:30.
272, which is the old IGA, we're actually working on right now for a potential indoor pickleball court.
The
Maybe
front-
it could fit
front section?
What's that? Yeah,
The front section.
Yep. along
Beautiful,
the street.
good.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of a nice compliment to the bowling alley and
Yeah.
indoor golf.
Golf.
So
Cool.
I'm kind of hoping that can happen. Currently working with trying to get the Trails Committee back up and running. It kind of went defunct just before the pandemic.
What is this?
Trails Committee. So, we have so many resources we're not taking advantage of for tourism. So Tom Carter, who's the most recent member of Conservation Commission and EDC, and I have started talking with Jen Perga, and we're gonna start working with the stewards from the Winchester Land Trust to see where we can get it kind of going as a social group, really get people out hiking, exploring, and help clear the trails. And then if the work that needs to, if they need to be blazed, or if there's bridges that need to be built, so we started that conversation.
You're talking on the watershed for the reservoir?
And that's part of the agreement is we have to have public access. on
Yes,
that.
okay.
But Jim Rollins is in the mix as well, and he's got a pretty decent plan of how to connect everything already up. And Tom Carter is an avid hiker, so he's very familiar with especially that part of the state, or in town in Winchester Center. As you probably heard or saw, we're working with murals and wayside exhibits. So the wayside exhibits I'm kind of excited about because not only is there a subcommittee with the Historic Commission, but I also want the Architectural Review Committee heavily involved. So we had one quick meeting at East End Park to talk about potential for 6 sites that would talk about different history in that area.
6 sites in the park?
6 signs, yep, yep. And they kind of overlap, and then you using the QR code will kind of more information than what you just see there. Another site that we talked about is the Three Meadow, which is the town, hopefully soon to be municipal lot, which we could talk about Highland Lake watershed right by the waterfall, the mill history in town, looking at 232 Lake Street, the Red Barn, and then last but not least was gonna be the Solomon House up on the hill, getting a little resistance shocking from the Winchester Historical Society. They didn't really want to be a partner with that, so I don't understand, but keep trying. So that would be one site. The last one is, they call it Prospect Park. It's the old rail bed that's along the river. It has the pedestrian bridge that goes from Main Street, and we're thinking about redoing the signage there. And this would be an opportunity to talk about the flood history, some of the merchants that were on Main Street in the signage, and then the railroad history itself. So it's pretty exciting. A lot of cool projects, the subcommittees there. And then the murals you probably saw on the side of Be Under Par, which is along Elm Street. She primed it so far. That one is not quite done for a design concept, but the thought is to kind of talk about our outdoor recreation opportunities, whether it be fishing, biking, hiking, I don't know. She has a whole mix of things in there. It's really more passive and looks good. Sophie is a artist out of Hartford, and again, we haven't really settled on something to present to anybody yet, but there's still conversations about what could it be contained. The one that's over by the skate park that had the Winchester postcard, that one's getting enhanced, and actually it's gonna get epoxy this time to protect it. So Ashes Royer is the artist there, and she's just started putting together, I had a pretty exciting, I wanna call it, concept, which talked about our roller skating history with Electric Park, the pavilion, which is now the state boat launch. Nobody seemed to like that idea except for me. So we scrapped that one, and now it's got more of like a recreation, like organized recreation, baseball, tennis, whatever. And so it's kind of figures that support the original concept for that mural wall. It's gonna look sharp.
back in July, that wasn't the final for the Elm Street?
No, I don't think so. The one with the
Thank
golf.
God. Yes.
Yeah, you saw golf. No, that's not. We're really not a golfing town, unfortunately, but I understand where the thought was coming originally. All right, anything more? Yes, but those are kind of the big ones. Was there anything that people had questions about? We can talk more on Thursday too. If there's anything you have questions about, don't hesitate. And then if there's anything you want us to be working on, I think regulation-wise we're missing, we can still bring those things up too.
Is, that farm coming back with regulation changes?
Thank you. So Nova Farm, actually on Wednesday morning, we are going to Morris to go smell and see, because they're actually cutting
Too
right
early,
now.
isn't it?
It is too
So-
early.
Well, they said they're already started.
Yeah, I talked to the first selectman. He said the smell is terrible. He gets complaints the whole time. And I met with Todd Carasello today, not just, it was our promise walk. He's like, I feel so bad. I sold the guy the house across the street before it went in, and now he can't sell it. He can't get out of there. He has to close his windows. He can't sit on the porch all time long.
So we're gonna go inspect and basically, like I said, smell what's going on there, and then,
Is that indoor?
no, it's outdoor. And then the thought is to follow up with Nova Farms if they wanna put in for a change regulations for macro grower, macro climate, whatever. Yeah, Jeff and I just need to reach out again, see where they are. They were gonna try to pull some stuff together from Massachusetts, which may or may not be appropriate. And then, yeah, see if they're gonna pitch something to you probably in September, October.
Were they talking about retail as well, or just cultivator?
Not retail yet. They've talked about having interest. They have their second store that they could do somewhere, and they would like to do it here local. And then we all talked. I think,
508 Main Street.
By the way,
Main?
there you go. Actually, what came up was one Lake Street, which was the old childcare place.
Yes.
Right across
Yep.
from the brewery.
Yeah, there you go.
But this was one of the questions that we're gonna talk about on Thursday is the 200-foot setback from any childcare facility, is
Yes.
that a straight line or is that following the road?
Straight line.
Straight line.
Property line, property line.
From any part.
Well, look at the one they just opened in Canton. They took an old bank, converted it, right there across from the green.
Oh, is that what
So one of the things we did in
Canton
Torrington
place is open. Yeah.
is we required that they put on the map any church, school, daycare within 500 feet, but we didn't put a barrier, because we said, you might be within 200 feet, like as the crow flies, but there's, a burn, something that doesn't impact it. So we just wanted to see where they were, so we can use that in our decision-making, but it wasn't a strong, prohibition.
Well, Winston, we're kind of, Main Street's out,
Yep.
from one end to the other. So not
And that
much
was the
left.
other thing, I said, well, one Lake Street is literally not on Main Street, but you can see it from Main Street. What was the intent there? I don't know. But I think if you're gonna hold it strictly to what the regulation says, then that would be one that would be considered, except that it's less than 200 feet from the childcare. Lot property, lot property.
Which is, so I'll recuse myself from that. I sit on the board of the Winston Child Care Center, but we own both, and we're trying to sell it,
Yeah.
so.
All right, 4 minutes over.
Did we-
Thank you.
But you look at the facilities,
Property line
when this
here.
whole thing
Did,
started in Massachusetts,
Did we feel
they're everywhere.
that?
And they're very nicely done.
Excavation permit?
I think that would be a great location for it.
The only reason I ask is
Oh,
that,
yeah, but it's
we walk
also,
up there.
But it's on,
I mean, the grass is
technically
high.
off Main Street though.
It's technically off Main
So,
Street.
I mean, obviously, nobody's,
Down Lake
now that
Street.
they're finished the 211, I haven't seen them doing anything on the big house, including maintaining it.
Hey, what page?
What are you speaking of?
We'll follow up.
O'Haron's place. I just wondered what had happened, why they weren't just, going.
You all done with your,
For, the
feet
The regs
from
are
the
getting
boundary line
updated,
of any
Oh,
residential zone
For the
any
regulations that are getting
school or
updated.
daycare
We
building,
talked
place of
last
worship,
year,
or
late,
playground.
about recommended edits to be incorporated.
Boundary line.
And we kinda,
Why
Not
do
building.
we say boundary
we
line?
met, I think, twice on
for
it, and then we
any
decided, you
project,
know
a
what, we're not gonna
school
look
or
at this.
daycare building?
Someone else has to take care of it.
Or
What do you call
school
that?
playground.
We met in the other room.
Yeah, but I missed what you said, because you,
Cause, I think we're gonna go forward with
I know they were
updating
talking
these
about
regulations, but did all those other
Yeah,
edits and
we
recommendations
had
get
so much
resolved?
discussion on it.
And those are going forward too?
No,
That's-
and we're
that's-
actually gonna be talking about that again in probably the first meeting in September. Yes.
Back to here, or,
So you're jumping the gun a little bit, but that's okay. So
that
this
last year?
E-code, or general code, is the group who's going to fix our regulations and add them in. But they also offer the codification, so you can do a search in the regulations for a certain topic or word. And I know we talked it to death last year, but I'm his name is Zach, a chance to just put your minds at ease, because I obviously didn't do a very good job of trying to explain it, and he's the one who does it, so he's gonna probably come in September. This is part of the meeting that I'm gonna have this week to work out these details. Yes, no, has, yep, good question.
and what's going on in that Route 20 lot?
Oh,
I mean, every time I drive by, there's more stuff in there, like trucks
Points.
and
point, yeah.
construction.
I mean, the building's
Equipment.
coming some point, but what
Yeah.
are you seeing now? I know he has a camper, he's got his, tractor or whatever stuff in there, but.
permit's good for 2 years?
I don't know when that permit was.
What's the, when's the thing expire as far as this site
Well,
plan?
he had a 9-year extension because
that's
of
right, cool.
the COVID,
9 years, so 9 plus 5?
so he's 4 years into his extension or
The
whatever.
9 year.
Yeah, so he technically it's like 5 years of work with it still.
So in the meantime, he can do anything there he wants?
I mean, he's been pretty good about talking with us, and Jeff's been concerned about wetlands, obviously. And Bill from Streets talked to us a while back, said the catch basin was filling with sand, so we were around that. I mean, actually, he's very responsive, so. It
It's a
just
piece
would
of
be nice
property
if the
that
building
wasn't
would be
used
done.
at all, you know, it'd be nice to have a piece of property developed there, and that was the intention.
I saw the gas station put up posts for the, for their enclosure, for the dumpsters. Shell gas station on,
Oh,
Yeah. on Route 8.
that's part of the.
Yeah.
Got approved minutes,
They-
all the way, I believe.
Within a week, they had the porta potty removed and they started doing the fence for the
They were
dumpsters.
happy as from hearing from Jeff.
Looks good.
Someone, they get rid of it.
Okay, any other questions? You got just a reminder about the Thursday meeting, 7 PM?
Is everybody hoping to come? If we
I'm-
get at least a quorum for you
I
guys,
can't
if
be
everybody
there.
can't, that's
Peter
fine.
said he'd chair.
Yeah, I'll chair the meeting and then let you.
Yeah, and
run
again,
things
I
from
took
there.
it for granted, I apologize if any of the other boards are watching, I just kind of assumed planning and zoning would be the lead. I think that makes sense, and I'm more than willing to kind of go through some of the list items that I sent you guys and talk about why we have questions about them and what was the intent originally. You know, variances and special exceptions, we struggled with a lot with seeing at the zoning board of appeals. So I thought I finally had a way to interpret it, but again, from the law, it might not be correct, so. But we're just trying to be consistent with whatever we're doing, it's, yeah, basically the way, the intent of what we're supposed to be doing. Impervious coverages, you know, that's one of the things that comes up almost every single application for especially Highland Lake for a home property owner, and we need to have a better handle on it. And I may have mentioned this before, but Haley Ward's been terrific as a partner to, you know, look into the engineering standards for it. And then obviously, as opposed to engineers doing the installation, or if it's a homeowner, we have to be better knowledgeable about that. And then when we get into the maintenance, schedule for it, right now, that's not happening. So, you know, we have to have a better system. There is some tools that we can use to track these things, and that's what we figure we want to talk about with the group.
Okay, good, okay.
I kinda remember Pam giving us a book that she, or some stuff that she had found somewhere on impervious, but I went looking for it, and
Yeah, I couldn't find it either. I remember seeing something from
Yeah,
years
yeah.
ago that we had, because we got into a lot of that discussion with ECAD when they first proposed the second building, because they were gonna have an impervious parking lot there. Somebody gave us some information. I don't remember where it came from.
Came from like Maryland or something.
Yeah, yeah. But the maintenance plan is the key to the whole thing, get it to work. Did
Anybody
Torrington
else
have
have any
anything? Because they built that parking lot with the ring.
We did a lot of work, we had a whole intern.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of the low impact development designs are oversized, so you don't have to suck them out, you know, the dirt out and everything every year. But what we ended up implementing was that every year, if you had we had an intern, so if you had a low impact development design feature on your site plan, every year you needed to send us a letter that yes, you inspected it, yes, it's functioning, you know, and if it
Yeah.
wasn't, let us know, and then we would send out reminders. I implemented that at the end of when I was there, so I didn't go through like a whole full cycle, so I don't know if they're still
Yeah.
doing it.
But it might be
But-
good to look and see what Torrington's got for their impervious regulations there.
Yep.
You really have to get this under control because it's basically a temporary permit for a forever job. You're getting that with no maintenance.
No
and you got a
maintenance.
forever permit for your house.
Well, and that's a problem
That's
we
not
have
right.
with sedimentation ponds and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, the
And
maintenance of it
it's
is.
easier
what makes
with
it work.
commercial properties, it's harder with residential, cause they don't tend to
Yep.
maintain them the same way.
You just make them give a form that says they prove they did it.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, we've got number 8 is approval of minutes, July 22nd.
Make a motion to approve minutes of July 22nd.
We have a second?
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor? I abstain. Communications done.
Yeah, there's just that one thing that came in. I don't know if it's worth mentioning or not.
What,
It's like a
this?
standard mailing, yeah.
Oh, this thing?
Should I go back to those minutes? So you talk about parking lots 20 spaces or less. Are we changing that to 5 to 35? That's a new
35.
discussion?
But that's just, and it's, yeah, that's what Rich
That was-
brought up, but
yeah,
that's, yeah, that's just talking about what you might have talked about that
Okay,
night,
all right.
yeah.
Sorry.
All right, I'll go over this and I'll send whatever,
I think it's just for information. I can scan it and send it to everybody.
yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah, I can do that.